All right, everyone, we're a few minutes past 6 o'clock, so we'll get started. I want to start by welcoming everyone to our athletics town hall meeting regarding the return to campus and COVID-19 mitigation. I'm Gus Mulhenrick, and I've been the Director of Athletic Communications here at St. Mary's for about 2 years now, and I'll be your host this evening. Before we get started, I just want to let everyone know that your questions will be answered at the end of the presentation through the chat function. And as a friendly reminder, please make sure you're muted throughout the presentation. This next slide, we just wanted to give you a couple of COVID-19 resources. The first one being the SMCM reopening information. The URL is right there on your right, and that's on the college's main website. And below that, we have the NCAA COVID-19 resources, which can be located on the NCAA's website. Now I'll pass it on to our first presenter of the evening, our Director of Athletics and Recreation, Crystal Gibson.
Thanks, Gus. I really appreciate that. I also appreciate all of you for joining us this evening. With this uncertainty in the air and a lot of indecision, I know that's been difficult on everyone. And we just want to be able to provide an opportunity and a space to answer all of your questions as we enter this fall semester. So about me, this is my entering my first year back at St. Mary's. I'm excited to be back. I'm excited to meet our first year students, to engage with our student athletes that will be returning from that were here last year, and our transfer students, and many of our parents as well that are on this call. I'm really excited just to get going. Obviously, it's not the fall that we envisioned initially, but we are looking to make it the best experience possible for all of our student athletes. So during this call, you're going to hear from several of our administrators and leaders within the athletic department have been working diligently to come up with and vet through some health and safety protocols that are going to allow us to continue with our fall semester through athletics. So we'll just start with talking about a little bit about the decision-making process and how we got here. As many of you know, in mid-July, we made the difficult decision to suspend fall sport championships for our college. Very shortly after that, the decision was made from our conference presidents in the AAC and the CAC that fall sport championships would be suspended. Those final decisions do come from an upper administrative level. Our conference presidents have the final decision in all of our conferences. And these were based on health and safety priorities for our student athletes, our coaches, staff, campus, and surrounding community. Our biggest thing here is that we have to be great partners, not only with our campus community, but knowing that we live within a small, close-knit St. Mary's County community as well. We've been working very closely with the St. Mary's County Health Department to ensure that what we do here on a campus is right in line with what's going on in our local community. As we continue through into our winter sports and our spring sports, we as a conference will be making those decisions in the upcoming months. We met today as a conference, and we decided to continue reviewing the progress of the virus on the campuses and the regions before we make final decisions on when winter sports will begin. And the same way with spring sports and spring championships. It is a priority of the college and a priority of the NCAA to ensure that we're going to be able to conduct those championships as they're scheduled right now, as winter and spring championships were suspended and canceled last year. So just know that we are working, and we will, as soon as those decisions are made, we will be putting that out to our campus community. Let's talk a little bit about the expectations that we have on campus as you begin to arrive here, either this weekend or in the next few weekends as we phase through this approach. It is important that we still provide opportunities for engagement with your coaches, with your teammates, and that's what we've been working for with these health and safety protocols that are going to be reviewed tonight. We want to be able to provide organized athletic activity In the case for this fall, specifically with our fall sports and our spring sports and our winter sports, to provide practice opportunities so you're going to be getting better. You're going to be working on skill development, and you're going to be working towards competition when it's feasible and safe. So, all that is going to take time. It's going to take a little bit of patience that we're all going to have to exhibit. You student athletes, our parents, our administrators on campus. Everybody's going to have to be in this together. We're all a team, and we all need to be on that same page. Jen Robertson, our head athletic trainer, is going to talk a little bit later on about our phased approach to returning to athletic activity. It will start in small groups and hopefully trend upward in terms of the numbers that will be allowed to participate in those athletic activities. So really look forward to her sharing where we are as we enter the fall semester here soon. One of the big things that I can't emphasize enough, you're going to hear it a lot as we enter into the residential campus and residential living. You're going to hear a lot from your coaches, from your peers, from other officials around campus, is that we really need to put a ultimate focus on following these new policies and procedures, not just from the athletic standpoint, but also from the campus. Everything that we do and what we're going to be able to do hinges on the ability for all of us to take responsibility in what our actions are. For that, we will have a Seahawk pledge that all of our student athletes will be getting through their compliance materials, through their coaches, that you'll want to read and you'll want to sign off on. There's also going to be a pledge for the campus community, but the Seahawk pledge is something on top of that. As you know, as a student athlete, we always are going to expect more. So this Seahawk pledge is really just laying out what those expectations are. It's also important to note that everything's subject to change. I know the disappointment that rang out for a lot of you that learned on Wednesday that you wouldn't be returning this weekend to campus. But those are tough decisions that the campus is having to make to ensure that you're returning in a space that's going to allow you to be able to learn in an environment that's healthy and safe. So all plans need to be noted as fluid. That includes our athletic plans. This is not going to be a normal semester. This is not going to be the semester that you started with last spring for those first-year students that are coming in. It's not the semester you probably dreamed of when you thought you were going away to college for the very first time. But our goal is to make it a memorable semester and one that you're going to really enjoy as much as possible. So again, the ability to move through our phases, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and you'll hear what that looks like, is really going to take a collaborative effort. We're going to need you to be doing what you need to do, following those protocols. Once you leave the arc, once you leave the stadium, once you leave the waterfront, and going back into your dorms, having those conversations with your roommates. Athletics and athletes have always been a leader on campus. We need that more than ever right now, to help change that culture. We talk about accountability a lot when we're in our team groups, when we're through our compliance meetings, and understanding that what we do affects a lot of people, and that's even more certain now than it ever has been. So be a leader, take charge, have those difficult conversations with your groups, because we want to be able to get to campus, and we want to be able to stay on campus, and we want to be able to get to competition, and that's going to take a team effort.
Moving on to our next presenter, we have our Associate AD for Internal Operations, Jim Cranmer.
Good evening, everybody, and thanks for joining us. As one of my main duties, I'm responsible for the NC2A compliance. So I just want to talk a little bit about the NC2A, what they've been doing in school. So a big thing to remember is the NC2A is a membership-driven organization. They do have a board of governors that makes decisions, but a lot of decisions are also based on what the schools do. So that's why a lot of the NC2A is waiting for a while to see how the schools are going to react. So obviously, over the last few months, a lot of schools have been dropping out, or have been deciding to postpone or cancel their fall seasons. Late last week, the NC2A Board of Governors laid down requirements for each division to have a fall championship. And the big one was that if over 50% of your schools postponed or canceled their fall season, you would not be able to have a championship. So that's where we are now. So again, fall sports have been postponed. We hope to, if all goes well, to have some competitions in the spring. The NC2A did make the hard decision that logistically it would not be feasible to host championships for those fall sports. So even though it will potentially be happening in the spring competitions, there will not be fall championships this year. So one of the things they did do is they issued a blanket waiver. So if your school does not play more than 50% of the maximum contests, you could practice, you could compete, but you still could retain this year of eligibility if you want. So, for instance, soccer are allowed up to 10 contests that they could have in the spring if all goes well. And as long as the school does not play over 10 contests, you could play in those 10 contests and then this would not count as a year of eligibility. You would still have 4 meaningful years of participation. One of the things that the conference is talking about is the possibility of still having a conference championship for the fall. And that would, again, for the fall sports taking place in the spring. And again, that's going to be a fluid situation. The other big thing they did is instead of a normal, traditional, non-traditional, your season is based on number of weeks. They went to each sport now is 114 days. So the big thing then will be fall sports. Typically in the spring, you'd only have 16 practices over 5 weeks. But again, they've gotten rid of that now. Everybody has 114 days in practice. It still cannot be more than, or you still have to have at least 1 day off every calendar week. But there will be the opportunity for teams to practice, get some meaningful work in. And again, Jen Robertson will talk about the phased approach. Winter and spring, again, it's going to be a fluid situation. NC2A is going to evaluate where the country is, where the regions are. And again, that's going to be also up to state, federal, local laws if we're able to have those championships this year. Again, though, because we will be, or hopefully we'll be having outside competition, we will be doing our NC2A paperwork. But we're doing all those meetings by Zoom. So those will be arranged for your coaches. A big thing this year is going to be academic standards and GPA. Last year was, I think my 20 plus years was about the best semester we've ever had. We had above a 3.2 cumulative GPA for the department. And that's just incredible. So our student athletes are getting the work done in the classroom. We need to continue that because even though we're not going to compete this year, even though we may get this year back, if you do not meet the GPA requirements, then you will not be eligible to play. So again, for St. Mary's through the NC2A, you have to have a minimum 2.0 cumulative GPA. So for first years, after your first semester, you have to have above a 2.0 in order to be able to participate in the spring. Same thing for next fall. Returning students maintain your GPA above that 2.0. If you do have any questions about class requirements or credits, you're more than willing to reach out to me if you want to find out what we can do with the extra year. If that's going to affect anything, please reach out to me. St. Mary's is also going to be starting an email. I believe it's this weekend for students, where every day at 4 a.m. you'll get an email with reminders at 8 and 10. It's a daily symptom check, and it's gonna ask, how are you feeling? Have you been around people? Have you been around somebody? Have you been potentially exposed to this? The first question is going to ask, are you coming to campus today? Yes or no? If you answer no, you don't need to answer anything more, but if you are, you're going to class. If you're coming in for something on a weekend, you're in your room, you're going to go eat, you have to answer those, and you have to get a green check to be allowed on campus, to be allowed out of your room, to go around, to go to class, go to eat, go to the library. So, but it's going to be important you get in the habit of answering that every single day. And again, Jen Robertson will talk about that more here in a couple minutes. In response to the COVID-19 and some of the situations going around across the country, the NC2A has established a phone line and or an email that you can contact them if you have a concern with how the school is handling COVID-19 in regards to practice or competition. Again, that name, that number, and that email address are on the screen. Last year, the Maryland Higher Education Commission also established a policy for having an external group with oversight over athletics if there's any problems. So at St. Mary's, we've used the Title IX office under Michael Dunn. So if you wish to reach out to them, if you have any problems in athletics, you don't feel comfortable going to your coach, coming to Ms. Gibson, myself, or somebody else, you can reach out to Michael Dunn's office, the Title IX office, and report any concerns you have there.
All right, moving on to our next presenter, our Michael P. O'Brien Athletics and Recreation Center Director, Tom Fisher. And before Tom presents, we're going to watch a short 2-minute video of Tom giving us a tour through the ARC, explaining the safety measures we're taking to keep everyone safe.
Michael P. O'Brien Athletic and Recreation Center. We are now at the main entrance by Good Pastor Hall. This is where you will enter when you first come to the Athletic and Recreation Center. As you can see, you'll be first greeted by our student workers, where they will conduct a health screening questionnaire and temperature check. After that, patrons will proceed to the welcome desk behind me, where they will check in with their ID card, complete a waiver, and then they are free to use our facilities. Welcome to the climbing wall cardiovascular area at the Michael P. O'Brien Athletic and Recreation Center. As you can see behind me, we have removed some of our cardiovascular equipment to maintain social distancing. We currently have 3 treadmills, 2 ellipticals, 1 power mill, 1 arc trainer, and 1 upright bike available. In addition, we will be limiting capacity at our climbing wall to 5 patrons per hour. We are now in the ARC Fitness Center. As you can see, we still have all the equipment available to our patrons. However, we will be limiting capacity to 10 people per hour during hours of operation. As we continue our tour, we are now in the recreation courts. Patrons will be happy to know that all activities that normally take place in the recreation courts are still allowed, but we will just be limiting capacity to 15 patrons per hour. Welcome to the Aquatic Center, the final destination of our ARC tour. As you can see behind me, we are in our 25-yard pool. Patrons will have the ability to reserve a lane for an hour during normal hours of operation for a lap swim. Currently, right now, our 25-yard pool will be available once school starts. Once renovations are complete in the 50-meter pool, we anticipate having that available by early September.
All right, take it away, Tom.
All right. First of all, I want to thank Gus for following me around to offer that tour to our students and faculty and staff who are going to be using our facility. The goal of the video was to at least highlight some of the steps that myself and our ARC staff are taking to create a safe environment for our students to work out in. We are trying to create a socially distanced atmosphere or take steps to remove equipment that allow students to work out in a safe and healthy environment. If we couldn't do that, we set capacity limits in all our facilities to prevent overcrowding. We've also adjusted our hours of operation. and we've altered them even further with the phased return. And all those hours can be found on the ARC webpage. Right now, our hours of operation when we start the semester will be as follows. 6 to 9:30 in the morning, Monday through Friday. 6 to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. And our weekend hours will be 12 to 3:30 p.m. Within each of those blocks, it will be divided up into 50-minute workout sessions, followed by a 30-minute cleaning session with myself and our ARC staff to clean up all our equipment and disinfect after each session. Because that's our goal, is just to make sure that we're providing a safe environment for our student athletes to work out in. Some of the policy protocol changes that we've implemented: face masks are going to be required to work out inside, just like they are in campus. No locker rooms are going to be available. As you saw on the video, students will go through a preliminary health screening upon entering before they can continue with their workout. And reservations are going to be required. I know that's something new for the returning students coming to campus, but the goal of the reservation system is to help us control our capacity so we can control how many students are working out in the building at any one time. So you can find that reservation system, imleagues.com. There's a link on the ARC page where students can register for their account and will allow them to reserve spaces within the ARC. And again, those spaces that you can reserve are the cardio room, the climbing wall, the movement room, the recreation courts, the fitness center, and the pool for lap swimming. As Coach Oliver will highlight in his speech, we are also working to provide opportunities for student athletes and their teams to reserve some indoor spaces around our hours of operation, and also be able to reserve some outdoor spaces as well.
Okay, moving on to our next presenter, our head athletic trainer, Jen Robertson.
Hello, and thank you for coming in and just kind of getting an idea of what's to come through the athletics. I think the million-dollar question is what's going to be happening from the sports medicine side and from practices. So as far as the sports medical packets, nothing's changing. They still need to be in. They still need to be completed before any kind of practices start. As you guys well know, the campus is setting out daily symptom checkers that you're going to have to be doing. If you're not doing them, you are subject to a 14-day quarantine. If we find out that you're not doing them, we're trying to take this extremely serious, that you're monitoring symptoms, and so that way that the health and safety of everybody else around in athletics, that you're protecting them as well. So make sure that you're doing the campus symptom checks. And then before every practice, we'll be doing an additional check just to kind of go over how you're doing a temperature check, and just kind of like check in with you guys, make sure that you're doing okay. But again, if you guys aren't doing that, we're going to assume that there's something that's going on, and then we'll probably keep you away for about 14 days away from athletics. So again, please make sure that you're keeping up with the symptom checks. At any point in time, from the start of the COVID, December, January to now, or anytime during the semester, if by chance you do have a positive test of COVID, you need to notify me as soon as possible, or shoot me an email, shoot me a text, whatever the case may be. There might be further evaluation that needs to be done. We definitely want to make sure that things are, streamlined for when you guys are here and actually start practices. As far as the training room goes, again, you know how much I absolutely love you guys loitering in the training room, but again, we're going to have to change things up because of this whole COVID situation. So things are going to be appointment based. So if you need to get a hold of us, just shoot me an email, or shoot your athletic trainer an email, and we'll get something set up where we can either meet face to face. We will be doing telehealth. So if you have questions and be like, hey, Jen, I just want to talk to you about nutrition. I just want to talk to you about, I have some tightness going on. What are some exercises I can do? We'll do what we can through telehealth, but if you want to make an appointment, come in, absolutely, we'll make that happen. Good news is we'll actually have 4 athletic trainers in the training room this year to kind of help with the extra work that's going to have to be done. So I'm super excited about that. So that information will be going out as far as who your athletic trainers are. Once they're in, they should be in by mid-September at the latest. So very excited by that, and I'm sure you guys are as well. As far as treatments before practices, we're going to kind of keep them to a minimum, like before and after practice. If you need it, absolutely, we're there to take care of you. We're going to try to do everything outside if possible. That way we can have people around, properly social distance, but, still doing our job. Like if you need to have your ankle taped, that kind of thing. So we're definitely going to have those resources. We will be doing it indoors if we need to, but we're definitely going to try to keep it outdoors if possible. Water bottles, we pretty much provide you guys with water bottles every year. Make sure you're bringing those, and no sharing. That's the biggest thing, is no sharing those. If you want to bring your own, since all of ours kind of look the same, if you want to bring your own or write your name on water bottles, that's perfectly fine too. Just make sure that is what you are utilizing to stay hydrated. So I guess $1 million question is, what are practices actually going to look like? So we're kind of starting off with the introductory phase when it's kind of buying time for everybody to kind of come in. Again, we just got the information late Tuesday night that there's going to be kind of a staggered approach. So as far as the timeline with that introductory phase, we're still kind of working through that. But there might be some virtual activities that your coaches are doing. You just got to make sure that you guys are cleared. If you have any questions or whether you're cleared or whether we have your paperwork, please contact your coach. They have a full roster clearance of what is needed. If you have sent in your packet and you are missing something, we will contact you directly. So we get through the introductory phase, we enter into phase 1, which is going to be a small group, about 10 people or less. We're going to be capping things at about 60 minutes and no contact. The reason for this, we're kind of, starting to do small increments into activities because a lot of people have been very sedentary. You're not training as much or as hard or as often as you have been before. And, honestly, that sedentary lifestyle really promotes injury and illness risk. So we want to try to mitigate those as best that we can. So we get through phase 1, we enter phase 2, larger groups, about 50, a little bit more organized activities. So you're kind of getting that team back together. We'll be capping practices about 90 minutes, but we're still not going to be having any contact. So this is a lot about, skill-based and kind of getting into, working with the teams, maybe shifting, that kind of stuff. And assuming that we get through phase 2, we'll enter phase 3. We'll start having, limited contact drills. We might get into inter-squad scrimmages, things are kind of probably around the 90-minute time frame. Again, all these little phases are kind of directed from a multitude of people, NCAA, National Athletic Training Association, CDC. We have a whole conglomerate of people that are kind of dictating these phases. So one of the questions that I get is, when or how do we move about these phases? And part of it is going to be dictated on, what's going on campus, what is going on as far as local and state and federal with regards to the number of positive tests. So the biggest thing is that we want to try to mitigate any kind of risks. So we're really kind of drawing things back as far as like the phase 1 and phase 2. As far as the cultural changes, again, our whole point here is to try to mitigate risk, is the health and safety of you guys. We need everybody's help to make this happen. So that means, washing your hands with warm soap and water. This means having hand sanitizer when you're not able to wash your hands, making sure that you're showering after practices, make sure you're washing your clothes. And when you're at practice, out of practice, in the library, wherever the case may be, that make sure you guys are utilizing the masks and make sure you're utilizing social distancing.
Now for our next presenter, we have our Director of Outdoor Facilities and head men's soccer coach, Alan Oliver.
Hello, everyone. So first of all, access to the outdoor facilities, which includes the baseball field, tennis, courts, practice fields, Jamie L. Roberts Stadium, and the club fields as well. Will look a little different this year. Your access will be through either coaches-led practices, which Jen was talking about. They were the 3 phases, or through your coach to reserve some individual time on most of the outdoor facilities. We're also working, as Tom said, we're finalizing a sign-up sheet, sign-up system that the student athletes will use to book your time for individual work on those fields. Information about that will be coming out ASAP. But again, you'll be going through your coaches for a lot of the access to the outdoor facilities. Then, with regards to locker rooms, they're very similar to the gym. They will be closed through phase 1 and 2. Also, something to keep in mind with regards to how different it's going to look. Please bear in mind that things are going to take longer than usual. So getting taped, especially when you go into practice, taping will look a little different when you go into to see Jen, or getting your laundry and getting changed when you have to go get your laundry, take it back to your dorm rooms or your rooms and get changed, then come back. So please make sure that you are leaving ample time for that. Hours of operation, like I said, will be determined through the certain sports schedules and you signing up for individual sessions as well. With regards to the individual sessions and you using the field, using the facilities, it will be in conjunction with the different phases. And so if you are working out individually for or in small groups with regards to the facilities, you will need to be, again, in phase 1, it will be no contact and small group activities. So something to keep in mind.
And before we get to the questions, Crystal Gibson has a bit more information to share with everyone.
Everyone, as many of us spoke today, the phased approach back to campus in terms of the students coming back for first years, sophomores, juniors, and seniors has changed some of our policies in terms of our phased approach to practice. So I just wanted to address that and say that we're working to make changes to those policies. We've been creating these policies for about a month and a half based on just everyone returning at one point. Obviously, the health and safety of you is at the forefront of everything. So, by the college stating that it's not healthy or it's not safe to bring everybody back this weekend, we're going to take some time to figure out what that phased approach looks like. So, know that will be coming. But for those that will be back on campus this week, it's possible that you'll be starting phase 1 a little bit earlier than some of your teammates. We're not sure exactly what that looks like, but there will be a time period from the time you arrive to campus until we get into physical practices in terms of in-person. Virtual activities obviously could start as soon as your coach permits that to occur and you have your medical clearances, but those in-person physical practices will take some time to get phased in and get you acclimated back to the campus. So know that we're working on that and that information is to come. So I know a lot of you will have questions regarding when can you get back with your team, back with your coaches, and back to work. And we hope to have that done within the next week.
All right, so if anyone has any questions regarding the information that was presented today, please drop those in the chat and we will answer those. No questions so far. Wait a couple more minutes.
Yep, just as the questions are coming in, just to give a little bit more information. We will be providing all of our student athletes, our varsity student athletes, with masks. So all student athletes will have to be masked during practices. These masks will allow for you to breathe comfortably. It's obviously going to be an adjustment for everybody, but these are school policies. So indoor and outdoor, you have to be masked at all times. So we will be providing those. It's not something that you'll have to provide on your own. Just so we know, initially we were moving with Gators. We were moving away from Gator masks as they are been deemed not safe for everyone. So we will be having 2-ply masks.
Got a question here. Are you allowed to work on the outdoor facilities, say with one other person, or is all use of the fields through practices?
So as long as it's in conjunction with phase 1, again, no contact, and you're following those rules and regulations, then you can do that, yes.
And that work you would sign up through the reservation system that Coach Oliver was talking about earlier. When that goes out, you'll have the ability to sign up for a time. If it's multiple people that you wanted to have that same time block with to do individual skill work, everybody would just sign up for that time block.
Nothing coming through yet. Give you guys a couple more minutes in case you have anything else.
I would say this, I appreciate everybody, again, just being a part of this presentation. We know that you'll have many questions once you leave this call. And as you return to campus, please feel free to reach out to your coaches, reach out to our athletic trainers, reach out to Tom Fisher in terms of our facilities, Jim Kramer with compliance, or myself as needed. And we'll look to answer those questions. If something comes up that you thought you wanted to ask and you thought of it after you got off this call, feel free to shoot it to your coach in the email. We will be coming out with an FAQ document of those things that we weren't able to answer during these calls, or with updates that we have following these calls. So don't feel like this is your last opportunity to ask questions. And we hope that we provided you with some sense of what we've been able to do.
Did just have another question roll in. Will dual sport athletes be limited to contact with only one team at a time?
It's going to depend on where that team is in their phases. So not all teams are going to be, starting phase 1 at the same time. So it's going to be kind of dependent on where that is for each team. So I think that's the best way I can answer that question. So it could be yes, could be no. It's going to be dependent.
Do you have to make appointments for the trainers in the same place that the ARC appointments are made?
No, you're going to have to contact us directly. You got me and Michelle. And again, once the other 2 athletic trainers are on campus, we will notify your coaches who your athletic trainer is, and we'll go from there. And then you'd contact them directly.
During the 21-day self-isolation, can the students leave campus? Example, drive to town?
We strongly discourage anybody leaving campus. You're just kind of putting yourself more. Again, we can't tie you down on campus, unfortunately. But I mean, again, if you're following the social cues, wearing your masks and staying socially distanced, you can, just mind what you're doing, I guess.
Yeah, and I would say just, again, that's in the health and safety guidelines for the college, is that you do have the ability to leave campus to go get the necessary items from a grocery store or stores in town. But again, we're not leaving campus for social means out. We want to remain on campus to make sure that we're keeping our campus as safe as possible. So as Jen said, those social cues, you must make sure that you have your mask on at all times so that we don't put our campus community in any type of danger. Well, we thank everybody for coming tonight. Again, if you have additional questions, please reach out to your coaches and they will relay that information. If you have specific questions, reach out to any of us that were on this call and we spoke today about anything that you didn't feel comfortable putting in the chat. We look forward to having you back on campus within the next month. Take care and go Seahawks.